I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Sean Hayes, head of Trans Northland.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see some familiar faces here and some new faces, hopefully new friends. I want to say thank you to the folks here who invited me to come and speak. It really is an honor, especially during Pride Month, to be able to have a stage to get to share a little bit about me and about my community that I love so deeply. So thanks for being here and listening. I just have a couple of notes that I'm going to be going through here, but to start off, again, my name is Sean Hayes, and my pronouns are he, him, and his, and I'm a transgender guy. And some of you might know me from our group Trans Northland. I was a co-founder of that group 10 years ago, this year actually. And I am now the executive director there, and I'm getting paid to do this work for the first time in 10 years. So that is a really big deal. Yeah, thank you. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to share here today, I gotta be honest, the first thing that came to mind was it felt a little silly to be up here, and when friends were asking me what I was doing today, I jokingly told them that I was going to give a sermon. And some of them know a little bit of my history. I believe I'm really bad at math, but about 17 years ago, I was excommunicated from my church here in Duluth for being a queer person. And so the irony and kind of comedy that I'm here now, literally at a pulpit speaking to you, has brought me a lot of joy and a lot of laughter. Yeah, just want to own that there are so many of us in my community who have been deeply harmed by religious communities, faith communities. And, you know, I would say I still have a lot of healing to do in my own heart, but the fact that I'm here and looking at all of your friendly, caring faces just makes this really a powerful moment for me. So thank you again. So I'm here to talk a little bit about how we, trans people, queer people, LGBTQ plus people, have always been here. We've always been a part of our communities. We've always been a part of churches and faith communities. We're everywhere. And the thing that I keep hearing folks talk about is if you don't think you know a transgender person, you're wrong. You do. They may just not have told you that they're transgender or queer or gay or lesbian. And the other piece of what I've thought a lot about in this time that we're in is as long as we've been a part of communities, we have taken care of each other within those communities. I was sort of thrust into community organizing 10 years ago when I personally realized that I was transgender. And I went through my own path, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of internet research. I'm thankful that I had that ability. A lot of our elders, there was just no way to get that information and to learn about what it meant to be trans or LGBT. And so as I started coming out to the people that I loved and cared about, the first thing that was really on my mind was, where are my people? Am I the only trans person here in Duluth, Minnesota? And what the heck am I gonna do? Turns out that was not the case. There's plenty of us here. But through that question, it prompted me to try to reach out to the people I know and try to connect with other trans people in the community. And so 10 years and a couple months ago, there were 5 or 6 of us who met actually at the Building for Women, downtown Duluth. And we came up with this thing called Trans Plus, which then we rebranded a couple years ago to Trans Northland. And that group was really all about supporting one another in our journeys. So we held, and we still hold, a peer support group regularly for trans folks, gender non-conforming folks, two-spirit people, anyone who's even questioning their gender identity or is curious about what that might mean for them. We welcome all of those folks to come to our group, and we just share our own stories with each other. We ask questions. We say, oh, this doctor was really, really good over at this clinic. You should go to that person for your gender-affirming healthcare. Or that person was really not good. Don't go to that clinic. It's not safe. So for the past 10 years, I've been able to be really surrounded by, and I think held by, my community here, the trans community. And I think growing up in the church, I grew up in a Baptist church, and they really ingrained in me this sort of servant heart, like helping others, as being kind of our main purpose in life. Probably had something to do with the fact that I was assigned female, and women are oftentimes the caretakers and the people who do that work, but I've always had a heart to connect with people in my community and to be able to share the hard things that I've gone through and be able to come alongside folks who are also experiencing those things, and also to get to celebrate the joys. There's so many joys that our trans folks go through, whether that's just coming out and realizing who they are and getting to be in a space for the first time where they really feel that they belong and that they don't have to hide any part of themselves. The joys of starting hormones for folks who are interested in that, or getting gender-affirming surgeries, getting their name changes, coming out to family that they thought would disown them, and then being met with love and acceptance. I should have said at the beginning, I'll probably get a little emotional at times through this, but about 10 years ago, around the same time that I was kind of trying to figure out what the heck I was doing with my own life and transition, as well as trying to figure out how to be a community organizer and a support group facilitator. I had no experience, made lots of mistakes along the way, and had very kind and generous people who helped me learn from those mistakes. But a little over 10 years ago, a prominent actor named Laverne Cox has this quote. I can't remember when I found the quote, but we have it on our Trans Northland brochure, and I'm going to read it for you. So, Laverne Cox, for folks who don't know, she's an Emmy-nominated actress, a documentary film producer, and a very prominent equal rights advocate for the trans community. Even today, she's doing a lot of advocating, especially in the time that we're in, with a lot of the challenges our community's facing. And so Laverne said, "It is revolutionary for any trans person to choose to be seen and visible in a world that tells us we should not exist." And I gotta say, oftentimes when I walk out my door, I think of this quote. There have been many times very recently where I've had to think for myself, wow, do I want to be visible today? Do I want to wear my pronoun button on my jacket? Do I want to put myself out there for others to potentially harm me, criticize me, come after me? And I feel a little ashamed even admitting that, but I think that that is something that all of our trans siblings right now are really wrestling with. Because sadly, the time that we're in is very scary and very uncertain. And it's almost every other day that we see some new attack come out against our community. And oftentimes I'm the person who gets emailed about, what does this mean? What does this mean for our community? Can we still get gender-affirming healthcare here in Minnesota? What about Wisconsin? Can I change my passport legally? Lots of questions. And sadly, I don't have really good answers for folks. But what I often tell folks is that even though I don't have a good answer, I'm here. And there's so many people who are here in our communities who are ready to care for each other and to support one another, including our allies, which I hope many of you in this room would consider yourself to be. And maybe if you don't, today might be the first day that you think, actually, I'm going to be an ally to the trans community. I'm going to be an ally for the LGBT community. And we'll talk a little bit about some ideas that I have about that. So as I mentioned, I've had a little bit of trauma with religious institutions, and I think that there's a lot of healing that can come from these places. And so in our current state of affairs, the current political administration, basically since he was elected in November, I knew that things were going to get hard, and they were going to get dark, and they were going to get scary. And I'm very grateful for so many mentors in my life who have come alongside me as I've taken on this role as executive director of Trans Northland. And as I said, lots and lots of people are reaching out and are scared and are angry and frustrated, and they're not sure what to do. For those of you who may be aware, just last week, there was a really major Supreme Court decision that came out regarding gender-affirming healthcare for trans youth. If you're not familiar, in Tennessee, there was a ban that was upheld in a court, and then that made its way all the way up to the Supreme Court. And these folks ruled that it is constitutional for Tennessee to ban that gender-affirming care. And so the emails start flooding in. What does this mean? What does this mean for us? Well, it's not great. It's not good news for everyone in Tennessee, all of the trans youth and families who are supporting their kids. I can't imagine what they're feeling in this time. And for those of us in Minnesota, I do offer encouragement. We are very, very grateful and lucky to live in a state that has had many protections for LGBT and specifically trans folks for many years. And in 2023, Minnesota became a trans refuge state. That was something that was written into law. Governor signed it. It was a really beautiful moment, I think, for all of us trans folks. And there's not a lot of states out there right now that are or would be considered sanctuary states for trans people. But Minnesota is one of those places, and that's something that Trans Northland is working really hard on building some support, because we've got lots and lots of folks from Tennessee, from South Carolina, Texas, lots of Texas folks, the Dakotas, all of these places where folks are having their care banned, where they're losing the rights to be able to have their legal name changed the way they want, or to have their gender marker on their driver's license changed. They're thinking about coming here. They're moving, they're leaving, fleeing their home states to come here. And nothing's set up yet. Minnesota was really great to say, we're a trans refuge state, but then what are they doing to actually help those folks come in? So that's something that me and my board of directors and lots of different community stakeholders have been working on, trying to brainstorm and dream about what might be possible for folks who are fleeing, who are trying to find refuge, and how can we meet them where they are? How can we find them a safe place to live as they're looking for a new job? How can we connect them into community and have them meet new friends so they don't feel isolated and alone? And I think that's where some of y'all might come in, but we're going to get to that. So another quote I want to share with you. So right after that Supreme Court decision about gender-affirming care, there was a huge gathering of community members And one of the well-known activists that I've followed for quite a while, her name is Raquel Willis. She's a Black transgender woman, has written books. She's an award-winning activist and journalist, as well as a media strategist. She was at this rally, and she said, "We know every generation of trans folks has been called to rise in every age. We have been asked to redefine, defy, and transform life itself. And we do it flawlessly." I love that, flawless. So as I'm sort of wrapping up my chat here, I want to say thank you again for listening, and I want you to start thinking about some ways that you might be able to show up as an ally in our Northland community, today even, tomorrow, in the future. That is a question I've gotten a ton. We've gotten lots and lots of emails, which brings me a lot of hope from our allies who say, "Hey, I just heard about this thing that happened. What can we do? What do you need? How can I get involved? How can I volunteer?" And I didn't have answers for that right away, so I had to sit there and think, okay, what am I going to tell our folks, our community people who care, who want to support, who want to be there for us? And I always start by saying, donate. If you have the financial means to donate to Trans Northland, to Duluth Superior Pride, to Outfront Minnesota, Transforming Families Minnesota, there are quite a few LGBT and trans-specific organizations in our state that need your help. As I said, I am a paid staff person at Trans Northland. I'm the only one. And I would really like to be able to hire more trans folks to come and help me with all of this work that we have to do. And that needs money. And that's like the most awful thing to ask people right from the gate. We need your money. But we really do. So that is something that I would really encourage y'all to consider, whether it's a $5 donation every month to Trans Northland. That makes a huge difference in what we're able to give back to our community. And a lot of the funds that come into us, we're actually pushing right back out into the community through a new mutual aid fund that we have created. Because that is something we are continuing to see rise. More and more trans folks in our community need help with paying rent, they've been evicted and now they need money for a hotel, or their car broke down while they were driving here from Georgia and they need help getting the rest of the way here. I mean, you name it. We've gotten requests from folks who are really being challenged right now. And so that's a specific way that you can donate. And then you would know that money is going right into the hands and pockets of trans folks who really need it. Another one of the ways that I've been encouraging folks to show up in their allyship is to think about what you're good at. What are you good at? What's your hobby? What skills do you have? What can you teach someone? Are you a knitter? You could host a knitting group, and it could be open for all trans folks, queer folks, everybody. And that's one way that we can build connection within our community. We can build and expand these spaces where everyone feels like they belong and they're safe, physically safe, and they can feel comfortable, right? To feel their whole selves can be on display in those spaces. We recently had a friend of mine had reached out, and I didn't even know he's a curler. And apparently there's a gay men's curling group in Duluth. What? I didn't know this. And he was like, we want to teach people how to curl. I was like, we will help you set that up. That sounds awesome. So that's basically how I've been encouraging folks. You know, if you've got a skill, if you've got a boat you want to take people out fishing on in the summer, if you want to host a volleyball game in your backyard, it doesn't matter what it is, right? It's a way for folks who can come together with those shared interests, and then they're meeting and connecting, and then hopefully supporting and building and working together in this community. Because gosh, right now we really, really, really need a really powerful, strong, and connected community to keep all of us safe. We've got a workshop coming up that there's a gal in town, I think it's called Duluth Handmade Books. And she reached out and she said, I have this workshop I do. 6 to 8 people can come and I'm going to teach them how to make like their own journal. And they'll do that together. And again, they're talking, they're connecting, they're being together, they're learning this new fun thing. And it's bringing a lot of joy to the trans folks in our area. So think about that. Do you have some special skill? Or are you an accountant and you want to help our board of directors? Do you have those kinds of skills and you want to help us with our organization as we grow and expand? Trans Northland just recently got our nonprofit status in 2023 as well, same as the Trans Refuge Bill. And so we are looking to grow our programming and expand it into more communities and neighborhoods. So we need all of your help to bring that to be. And I would say lastly, I was just talking to a friend about this, and I should have looked up the statistic because I can't remember it again. But there's a really, really powerful statistic out there that says if a trans kid has one safe, accepting adult in their life, it greatly expands their potential to continue living their life. And suicidality goes down 5 times, Kathy. Thank you. It is significant, yes. And for those who aren't aware, unfortunately, our suicide rate within the trans community, even before this moment we're in, under all of the attacks we're facing right now legislatively, was 47%. Trans people have either attempted to take their life or have succeeded in that. 47% times more often than our cisgender heterosexual counterparts. So these things make a huge difference. If you can be that safe person, if you can get involved with Mentor North and work with a trans youth, if you can be that safe grandparent or uncle or auntie, right? And actually make a point of letting those people know, I see you and I support you, all of who you are. Man, I think about if I would have had that as a kid, I probably wouldn't be here today. My life would have been radically different had I had support and love and acceptance from my family. And I'm so grateful that I found it and have created my own chosen family. And that's what I'm going to encourage all of you to do. Look at your family units. Who can you bring in? Who can you expand and open up to? There's so many of us who are looking for love and kindness in this world that is really negative and dark. Every day I wake up and I open Instagram and there's some new terrible thing. And I'm sure all of y'all have experienced that as well. You turn on the news and there's 26 new terrible things that have happened. And it feels really, really overwhelming, if you're like me at least. But I think that what we can do is really powerful right here in our community. We have a lot of power to grow and to continue growing this beautiful community here in the Northland with all of us coming along. And I just want to say thank you for being here again and considering becoming a visible ally to our community. And that can be as easy as putting a rainbow button on your jacket. We see those things. I see those rainbow buttons and I know, okay, that person may not know everything. They may not know all the right terms, but they care about me. They see me as a human. I'm safe to walk next to this person, or maybe even to say hi to them, right? So think about what it is that you could do to become a visible ally. We really, really need you, and we want you to be allies. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart for letting me come in here and preach at you a little bit. I'm just deeply, deeply grateful to be a part of this community here and to get to connect with all of you. And hopefully you can come say hi to me after this and we can get to know each other better. So thank you again.